Hey guys, what's going on? Adam Snyder here with the Homemade Entrepreneur. So today I want to talk to you guys about just something completely different. We're going all out. We're going, left field. But I want to talk about scamming. And so everyone has their stories about how they've been, scammed out of money. I've been scammed out of money before, and it sucks. It really does. But there was two instances where I was almost scammed out of about $33,000. There's $28,000 on one and $5,500 on another, so $33,500. And this happened within the same month. This actually was back in 2008, so it's not something that's even recent. But I was asked recently about, well, not really asked. I was contacted by somebody who was recently scammed out of about $6,000, and they were just kind of wondering, what is my take on that? How could they get their money back? And so it kind of just brought up these memories of when I was almost scammed out of this money. So I want to talk about that. Let's just dive right into it. So what happened back in 2008, and I'm not sure the exact month. It really doesn't matter. But so one, I was a buyer, and then on another one I was a seller. So let's talk about when I was the buyer. So what happened was, and I've done this for a while, is I buy and sell cars. I buy them, fix them up a little bit, and resell them and make profit off of it. So what happened was, back in 2008, it was on Craigslist, and I contacted the seller, and I wanted to go see this car. It was a 2006. It was a 2006 Honda, and so it was only 2 years old. They were selling it for $75 or something, and they said they needed the money. They urgently needed the money. So went there, looked at the car, and I don't remember what kind of car. It was like an Accord or something like that, and I believe. And so I went and looked at the car. Everything was perfect. I thought, okay, this car is worth more than the $7,500. I don't know why they're selling it for that. Well, they really need the money. They're talking about, just give me, just let me know whatever you think. I'm looking for the best offer. So they kept saying, offer, just want to get it sold. I said, okay, well, I do 55, thinking that's a low ball offer. And I wasn't trying to be, rude or anything like that, but they're just saying about this offer and everything. So threw out number 5,500. They said, yeah, if you could do that today, then we'll take it. So we settled on 5,500. I went to the bank. The bank was still open, luckily. It was about 4:30 in the afternoon. Went to the bank, got the money, got $5,500, and it was all in cash. It wasn't a cashier's check. Normally, for something that size, I'd usually do a cashier's check. I don't remember the reason I didn't. I believe, and again, this is years ago. I believe it was because they had something to do with their bank or a tax levy or something. I've been fed so many stories, but anyway. So I got $5,500 in cash. Went back to the house. The car was still there. That they gave me the keys to it. Everything. They brought the title. We were gonna sign the title. So they bring out this title. It says 2006 Honda, but then I noticed it says in like the model, it doesn't say Accord or whatever the car was. It says CBR 600 something else. I don't remember. It was for a motorcycle. And so I kept telling the guy, I said, this isn't the right title. This looks like it's for a motorcycle. He says, no, this is the title. This is the one that we got from the dealership. I was thinking, okay, well, so you bought this car from a dealership and you already have the title for it. Something doesn't seem right. They're in need of money. It wasn't like in this fancy neighborhood or anything, but not trying to stereotype these people. But what ended up happening is they were trying to have me give them $5,500 for the title to a motorcycle. It's 2006 Honda, CBR, which was, for the amount that I was giving them, the bike was worth less than that, because it was pretty much totaled, and I saw it sitting over next to their garage. And so they kept saying, no, this is the one, this is the one. And then the girlfriend or wife came out and, no, this is the one, this is the one we got. And I told her, if it doesn't say, and the VIN number doesn't match up, I'm not just gonna hand you over $5,500 in cash. And so what ended up happening with that, I see on Craigslist about, sorry about the story being a little long, but I see how, and there's a point to this, the two stories, but I see how somebody put on Craigslist, these people are trying to scam them. It was the same type of deal, and so I'm glad I didn't do that deal. But so the whole moral of that story and that whole scam story is that I was paying attention. Even though it was a great deal, I could have made a ton of money on it. It was too good to be true. And in a lot of cases, when the deal, whatever it is too good to be true, it normally is. And that doesn't just, I'm not just talking about online, I'm not just talking about, with dealing with cars or anything like that. It goes with anything. If you're going to go on vacation and the deal is just too good to be true, there's usually a catch. Maybe you're not staying in the nicest hotel. Maybe transportation is just not included. I know there's a lot of Groupon deals where you can travel to the some paradise island for $499 for 5 days, 5 nights, 6 days, whatever. But they only fly out of one location or two locations, usually Dallas or Miami. You got to get there. That's the catch. Okay, so you gotta really be aware of what's happening. Just know that. And so let's get into my second, where I was almost scammed out about $28,000. And so what happened was, back in 2008, I was selling a website. Now I still have that website to this day. It's one of my most profitable websites. At that point, it was making about $1,000 a month. So with it making about $1,000 a month, I was expecting to get anywhere from $18,000 to $24,000 for it. Okay, so about a year and a half to 2 years worth of income. I priced it a little high just so that there was a little bit of wiggle room, and within about 2 weeks, it wasn't right off the bat, but about 2 weeks, I get somebody sending me messages wanting to buy my site, wanting more information about the site. So I give him all this information within about 30 minutes, maybe an hour. He was ready to buy it, and so I thought that was a little odd, because normally when I do my due diligence on a site, it takes me days to do all this stuff. It took him less than an hour. He wanted to buy it, $28,000. That was a good price. Okay, we settled. About 2 or 3 days later, he didn't want to pay through an escrow company, because he's dealt with the story was he dealt with escrow companies in the past, and they always hold the money for too long, and the site never gets transferred. And so what ends up happening is he just gets his money back, and he never gets the site that he wanted. So he didn't want to do that. I said, okay, well, the only way we can do it is you have to send me a cashier's check, something you get from your bank, that is guaranteed. It's gonna be, the money is gonna transfer. The money is there. He said, okay. Well, after he wanted to do PayPal, he wanted to do all these other sites I've never heard of, and then he wanted to do a, I don't remember the next one. And so I said, okay, the only way to do it is you need to do a cashier's check, and you send it to me at this address. And I want it overnighted. It was overnighted, got to me the next day, and $28,000, just like we agreed on. But what happened, I took it to the bank, I deposited it, and I get a email from him later that night. Has the site been transferred yet? Obviously, no, it hasn't, because the money hasn't even been deposited. There was a 72-hour hold on this cashier's check, because being the size of the whole check and everything, my bank decided to put a 72-hour hold on it. And this, in 2008, that was a year after my wife did some, I don't know, secret shopper thing or whatever, and they pretty much took about $800 out of my account. So The bank they were aware of what I do, and so they put a 72-hour hold on that money. What ended up happening is the next day I get an email from him, and there's probably at least 20 or 30 emails from him in the next 48 hours. But the next day I get an email from the site has been transferred. What's going on? What's taking so long? I need it now. My partner or my board or whatever it was is getting very aggressive. They need the site transferred. I gave you the money, so on and so forth. And so he's just pushing to try to get this thing, wrapped up. Which I understand. If you pay for something, you want, your item. I wasn't about to transfer everything. So I'm waiting on it, and I know there's a 72-hour hold from my bank. My guess is he knows the same thing. I don't know how he would. I didn't tell him, but he said he needed it by this time, this day, and that was actually about 65 hours, 70 hours in. So and it was a specific time. It's like he knew at 72 hours, this check was going to bounce. It was going to reverse. Well, that's exactly what happened. It reversed. So I get a notification from my bank. I actually get a phone call saying your check has been reversed. And so it was from Fraud Protection. And they tell me, if you sold something, don't send it. Don't give it to the person. Don't sign it over. All this stuff. I said, okay, I was kind of expecting that, but I just wanted to make sure. So that's what happened. The whole moral of that story is just because you are the seller doesn't mean you are not going to get scammed. Just because you are the buyer, like in my first story, doesn't mean I'm not going to get scammed. There's more buyers that get scammed than sellers, but it can happen both ways. Okay, so just be aware of that. It doesn't matter what it is you're doing. I talk a lot about online business. I talk a lot about making money from home, from anywhere in the world. You're running a lifestyle business. Just because you are running a online business, there is a lot of fraud. There's a lot of shady stuff going on in the online world. So be aware of that. I'm not saying that everyone out there, every person you see on social media, see on your emails you get, some of these things are scams. Okay, scams are out there and they're in every form. So just be aware of that. I'm not trying to scare you from doing things online, but I'm trying to get you to open up your eyes that there's scams out there, and the people that are behind these scams, they make them very elaborate. They figure out a way to really target your weakness, and the best way to avoid that is to work on your weaknesses the most. And in my opinion, just because you don't know how to do something, you'll learn. There's so many articles, there's so many websites, social media accounts, YouTube channels that teach you different things. I'm not saying they're going to teach you everything and you're going to learn the nuts and bolts of everything you need to know, how to do this from A to Z, but they're going to teach you a great deal about everything. So if you put all those things together, the websites, the social media accounts, the mentors you might get on Facebook and Instagram and even YouTube, and then watch YouTube videos, you're gonna figure out all this stuff on your own. Okay, so I just want you to understand that scams are out there. There are ways to avoid it, but I just wanted to give you my two stories. These are my bigger scam stories that I've been part of. In a negative way, obviously, but there's so many people get scammed out of money. Out of money. I've been scammed out of time so many times, which there's no money that changes hands, but I'm always a firm believer that you need to trust people. So I trust them first, and that was my biggest downfall. Is I trust people first, expect, okay, I'm gonna do this, in kindness of my heart, and really help them out. And like they say, okay, I'll be getting this money or whatever, I'll pay you, and a lot of times it doesn't happen. So I just wanted to shoot this video to kind of get you guys to realize, what goes on. Not only from, I'm making money, I'm doing great, everything's going, it's awesome. but it's not always, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. Sometimes you have to worry about the little things you wouldn't expect that you have to worry about. Recently I ended up buying another car. It was a 2004 Volvo XC90. Bought this thing for $1,000. I was a little worried, what might be wrong with this car. And make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'll be putting up a video talking about the car, the deal, showing you pictures and all that stuff, showing you the numbers, and you can see why I was a little worried about it. But the deal turned out to be great. If I sell the car, I'm gonna make a good amount of money from it. So yeah, there's upsides and downsides to every aspect of every business. You just gotta be prepared for it. You gotta understand your risk, you gotta understand the rewards, and kind of go from there. So I know this video wasn't extremely informative. I know this video, it was mostly me talking about past stories. If you guys have stories like that, stories where you've been scammed, or very close to being scammed out of money, or even someone attempted to scam you out of money, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know what happened, if you lost money, if not. Not only is it good for you to reflect on what happened and how you overcame it, but it's also a great thing for other people to read as well. I'd love to read it too, because I don't know all the scams out there. Okay, people will scam you about pretty much with anything. So I don't know all those scams, and there's probably other people in the same boat as I am that don't know the scams that are out there. So let us know in the comment section below, because chances are that maybe you've been through something that no one else has even heard of, and if that saves somebody from not losing their money, their hard-earned money, their house, their cars, whatever, I really want to help people out. So put it in the comment section below if you like this video. If it helped you out anyway, give it a thumbs up. Like I said, subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can really see how I make money. I'm not scamming people out of money. That's one thing I do not want to do. Never been a part of that. Never care to have anything to do with scams. Honestly, like I said, I've been scammed out of money before many times. Not millions of dollars, not even tens of thousands of dollars, but it's been a decent amount. It's been a good chunk of change, and especially at a time where I didn't have a whole lot of money to begin with. So again, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Let me know your stories in the comment section below. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys on the next video.